In this video, I want to show you how I set up my Logitech MX Master 3 mouse for faster video editing in DaVinci Resolve, and why you may or may not want to consider buying one. I'm late to the game on experiencing this mouse firsthand because I've been in love with the G600 MMO gaming mouse, which has tons of programmable buttons, but it doesn't work with the new M1 Max MacBook Pro, so I joined the MX Master Club and I wish I'd tried it out sooner. You might already own one of these, so let's get straight to how I configure the buttons, and then after that, I'll go over some of the missed opportunities. Oh, and just for context, I've been a full-time video editor for 2 decades, so this is just what I found out works best to complement my left hand on the keyboard, but I'd love to hear in the comments below how you set up your mouse, because maybe I could do better. Instead of using the Logitech Gaming Hub software, the MX Master 3 mouse uses the Logi Options software to control all the customization. I'm not sure where they moved tech from their name, but oh well. Once you download it, install and open it. And go ahead and open up Resolve if you haven't already yet, because it makes it easier to add as a new application. While you're on the mouse tab, go to the upper right where it says All Applications. Click it, and then turn on the switch for application-specific settings. The app is smart enough to know what software is being used and changes the button behavior based on that. And since DaVinci Resolve doesn't have any Logitech defaults, click the plus icon to add an application, and then of course choose DaVinci Resolve. To see the current settings for each button, hover the cursor over the circles, and then to change them, just give it a click. There are built-in recommendations, and what we're looking for is keystroke assignment. Keystroke assignment lets you enter any video editing shortcut you'd like. But for the scroll wheels, I keep those as the defaults, and that's because a middle mouse click is integral to working in DaVinci Resolve. If you're on the color page, middle clicking is how you can copy and paste color corrections from one clip to another. Also, after zooming into the viewer with the wheel, you can middle mouse click and hold to pan around the image to get a closer look. Oh, and a quick tip here to zoom back out to fit, you just tap Z on the keyboard to see the whole image again. You can also use the middle mouse button to pan around in the Fusion node graphs. And the 2 modifiers that I use with the scroll wheel all the time are the default Option on a Mac, Alt on a PC to zoom into the timeline, or Shift while scrolling to change the track height. Now over here on the horizontal scroll wheel, this is the only other default I have, and the idea is to scroll left and right on a zoomed in timeline, and this sounds great, and I do use it on occasion, but it seems that I can't change the gearing on it with the Resolve timeline, so more often than not, I use the main top scroll wheel and hold the keyboard modifier Command on a Mac or Control on a PC to get a faster response. I set the wheel mode shift button, the one that's right in front of the scroll wheel, with the keystroke assignment set to the delete forward button, also known as shift backspace. This quickly lets me ripple delete away any segment from the timeline, and it automatically closes up the gap that would have been left behind if I'd only chosen the regular backspace. Then I set the gesture button to Option on a Mac or Alt on a PC with Y. Option or Alt Y selects everything forward on a timeline from the current playhead position, which is a quick way to open up a timeline gap for when a moment needs some space to breathe or give it a beat. After making that selection, you can click and drag all the clips together. And now my 2 favorite buttons, which by default are the forward and back buttons when you browse the web, but in DaVinci Resolve, I set these to Shift left bracket and Shift right bracket. Shift right and left brackets are hands down one of the best ways to speed up your video editing because they perform so many trimming functions with just a single click. Avid calls this tops and tails, but what it does, if you move your playhead over a clip and you want to make it shorter, just click the Trim Start button and it removes all of that clip up to the point of the playhead. On the flip side of that, go to the end of the clip and shorten it with the playhead parked at the position where you want it to end. Click Trim End, and see? That's awesome, right? But wait, there's more. Oh man, that sounds like an infomercial. But for real, if you're coming from using Final Cut Pro and love the magnetic timeline, which is really just a default ripple timeline, you can use Trim Start and Trim End so they don't leave any gaps behind by clicking into the trim mode first, which is this button, or you could hit T on the keyboard. And now position your playhead, click Trim Start, and everything's going to tidy up to close the gap. And if you want to go back to leaving gaps behind, maybe to maintain timing for a music track, go back to regular selection mode or tap A on the keyboard. There's more to the rippling behavior that you're going to want to know for Trim Start and Trim End regarding the Auto Track Selector button, but there's so much to auto select that I have a video linked in the description that explains all of it. Oh, and super quick, before we move on, I gotta say welcome if you're new here, and I super appreciate you if you're back after a previous video. I'm Chadwick, this is Creative Video Tips, which is here to help you craft videos that make a difference and stand out. I'm obsessed with learning and teaching valuable techniques, and I'm super into DaVinci Resolve lately, so if you're into that, subscribe right now, right now, so you don't miss out on next week's tips. The good and the bad. I love that this mouse can be used while charging it with a USB cable. The charging port is not positioned at the dumbest design place ever for a mouse. Ahem, Apple. On top of that, I rarely have to charge this thing. I guess they say it can last up to 70 days, which probably seems to be pretty accurate. So if you're concerned about needing to charge it often, don't. It's like the Energizer Bunny. Another concern I had with it being Bluetooth is that it wouldn't be as responsive as my previous wired gaming mouse, the Logitech G600 and the Razer Naga. I guess they improved Bluetooth a lot because it feels as good as a wired connection, but without all the extra cables on my desk. For what it's worth, this is the MX Master 3 Mac version, which just uses Bluetooth. It doesn't have the unified dongle. The last couple of things you just need to experience to understand, but to me, it's the ergonomics. To me, this mouse looks like it's trying too hard, but seriously, just place your hand on it like this and you're just gonna see what I'm saying. Maybe I've been skewed by less ergonomic MMO mice, but this one just feels like it was built for my hand. It was like molded to my hand, and I could work like this all day with no wrist problems at all. And the crown jewel is the smooth, free-spinning scroll wheel. When I was a kid, I used to love to rollerblade, and this is like when you went from some crappy ABEC 3 bearings to nicer ABEC 5 or 7 bearings. It's just smooth as silk with just the flick of your middle finger. But when you need slower precision, you can change it back to the traditional line-by-line clicking action. And in Premiere Pro, you can use this navigation to step-by-step, a single frame at a time through source footage. Now for my criticisms. I first would say that I wish the horizontal scroll wheel over here would behave as dynamically as the main scroll wheel on a Resolve timeline. It could also be positioned slightly lower, so it's not quite as much of a reach up with my thumb. I also wish that maybe we could add just 2 or 3 extra side buttons. They could be slim like my trim start and trim end buttons, and that would be super helpful to add a couple more shortcuts. Then the cost is another thing. This is not the cheapest mouse on the block. The price is constantly fluctuating, so you can see the current price with an affiliate link in the description of this video, but there's older models that might save you a few bucks. Now, since this is something I was going to be traveling with, I also picked up this inexpensive case to help give me the confidence that I could keep using the MX Master 3 for a very long time. In terms of filmmaking gear, like filmmaking specific gear, it's not a ton of money, but yeah, for mice, it's up there, and I wish it was less expensive. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you. Check out the video that YouTube thinks you're gonna enjoy on screen next, and because there's so much more to learn, I'll see you in the next video.